Okay, so as I said, I'm Elise Sinaga, the director here of the Rose Baker Center. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So my role really in this presentation, panel discussion this morning is really just going to be to introduce folks. And I want to start that out by just like I just did, introducing myself and letting you know what our role is. So right here at the Rose Baker Center, if you have anything, if you get a text and you say, I don't know about this, I think it's a scam, I'm not sure, or I think it's legit, but I'm not sure, bring it to us. Bring it to us. Let us take a look at it. We're always available for that. And we get that already with a lot of mail. Because as new as some scammers are, they're still using some old fashioned methods too, like mail that comes right in your US mail. And we often get people that bring in some kind of communication and they can't make heads or tails of it. So we can help them with that and we can help to determine if that mail might be something that's an attempt at some kind of scam. So that's what we can do. And the folks, this great panel behind me are going to tell you all of the different things that they can do and they are doing and do all the time to help to fight scams. Do we know who's going first?
I'd like to say something.
Tony, sorry. Yes, Tony Gross, president of our city council, was instrumental in pulling this presentation together this morning. So thank you, Tony.
So I'd also like to thank my fellow councilor, Sean Nolan, who he and I decided this would be a really good idea to get these folks, these folks who can tell us what measures we can take to protect ourselves from these things, because they're insidious. They are very, very talented, and they've hurt an awful lot of people. We also, earlier this year, we took away their ability to use crypto ATMs, that they're no longer allowed in Gloucester. So you cannot go to they'll say, go to the crypto ATM that was at such and such, Roger Street. And, we've transferred so much money into your account by mistake. You need to send it back to us to use this method to do it. We took the ability of them away to do that anymore. So that was a really big help for us. So those are two measures that the city council, along with this meeting tonight, a couple of measures that we have done to help our most vulnerable population, whether it be seniors or people who are vulnerable, to be able to discern what is real and what is someone trying to steal your hard-earned money. And these folks are the experts to tell us, and we put together this panel for you. So again, I want to thank my colleague, Sean Nolan, who's unable to be here today. And hopefully you all will get plenty out of it. There's lots of handouts up here that you should get before you leave. And I handed out one earlier about something to put on your refrigerator. Please put these things where they will keep this at the top of your mind. So thank you very much for coming. This is a great turnout.
Okay. Right to left.
So I thought we'd do is I was going to cover some of the electronic stuff. Kevin's going to cover different types of scams. We have our banking expert.
Right. Yeah, that sounds great. So our first speaker today is going to be Essex County District Attorney Paul Tucker, and he's going to tell you about all the things that his office is doing and can do for folks who think they might be being scammed. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. And a big thank you to Tony and Councilor Nolan as well. Gloucester was very proactive in making sure that they took every prevention method. Scott DeLay from my office and I came up, spoke to the city council. Great work by the Gloucester City Council, really leading the way among all the 351 cities and towns. Gloucester is a lot better for it. So thank you, Tony, for the work you've done. It was incredibly good foresight. So just a little bit of background. So Kevin and I actually both have very similar careers. I was a police officer in Salem for 32 years, retired as a chief, spent most of my time as a detective, was a state rep for 8 years, and now I've been DA. I'm in my 4th year. Kevin and I were chiefs together. Kevin was the chief in Lynn, and he can talk about his background. But I just want to put some context into what brings us here today. In our careers, both of us as investigators saw different types of scams over the years. None, I would say, with quite the sophistication and the persuasion that we see today. These scammers today are incredibly persuasive. And I've got about a handful of cases that I'm going to summarize for you, just as a cautionary tale of things that you actually may have been subjected to, or friends, or to make sure that in case somebody did approach you, you'll know ahead of time. So what I'm going to do is talk a little bit about the electronic scams. And as Tony said, I'm going to focus a little bit on what we call these crypto kiosks, which look very much like ATMs. And this is what Gloucester has banned. And if you take a look at these actual machines, they're generally in gas stations, small stores, convenience stores. And by design, they look like ATM machines because we're all familiar with them. We go, we get our money out. There's a small transaction fee, usually $2 or $3. We have a comfort level with them. And that's part of the scam here, is to get people that generally are familiar with these machines. So how do we get to have somebody sent to the machine? A variety of ways. Some of the main ways that we've seen it on the electronic front is you might get something that pops up on your computer, some type of tech support, or like a virus that somebody claims will be a pop-up window that says you've got to call this number. And when you call them, that's how the scam begins. And they're very persuasive. They have a very good familiarity. They know what they're talking about. And they get you on the phone, and they almost talk to you as if they're a customer service rep. And all they're doing really is drawing the net around you to be able to pull you in. There's a variety of ways that they can do this. Oftentimes they'll make hundreds of calls a day, oftentimes from a foreign country, and they'll try to prey upon a weak spot. For instance, one of the things we've seen lately is that they'll say that they're a government official and that your name has come up in an international pornography ring, child pornography. That happened to you?
The other day, yeah.
Okay, so it's a real thing. And I just, as I go through this, I just ask you to keep in mind, there's two things that actually help the scammers as well. One is when the person says, oh, that would never happen to me. And the second part is, I would never fall for that. And I'm going to give you a couple examples of some folks that when you say I would never fall for that, unfortunately,
Good now.
that's what ends up happening. That's what brings us here today. They want to get you in a position where you're believing them. And there is a variety of ways that they do this. They may say that they've hacked into your PayPal account. They're federal agents. They're going to help you. They may tell you that your name came up because there's an employee at a bank who's stealing and they need to draw you in because you're a good citizen and you're going to help them catch this person. So they're going to have you withdraw some money and put it into one of these Bitcoin machines. Now, just a bit about the machine itself. This is really, to me, what is such of a drive for us to try to ban these machines. And we're trying to do it at the state level. There's actually a vote tomorrow. We're trying to push to ban them statewide. The machines themselves are put into these stores, and it's with the promise to the store owners, they're going to get $300 a month. They get a $900 upfront fee, and they'll get $300 a month, and they don't have to do anything, just provide electricity. So one of the things that we have seen, and I don't know if anybody saw it in last Sunday's Globe, it was a really good story about how these machines we have 500 of them across Massachusetts. And what the worst part about it is when people are putting the money in, 98% that we're finding from studies, 98% of these transactions are scams. Somewhere around 2% might be legitimate, people who are actually trying to buy Bitcoin. The problem with that is, though, if you went to an actual legitimate Bitcoin purchasing center, you would pay about a 2% fee. With these Bitcoin machines, and you don't know it until you put the money in, it's a 50% markup, and then there's an additional fee on top of that. And one of the things that we found in my office is that there isn't a week that goes by that somebody doesn't come to our office or to the local police department and they've been scammed. And we have very, very few success stories. I'm going to tell you what a couple of them where we were actually able to get the money back. That's by design. Once that physical currency goes into the machine, it goes into what they call a wallet. And they do this thing, just as it sounds, it's called a mix and tumble. It gets sent from account to account to account, sometimes 5, 6, 7 different ones. And when we as law enforcement finally get the report, by the time we get it, we might be able to find it to the second spot, but it's been long gone by then, probably offshore. So one of the things that we do is, number one, we don't want people to get scammed. But two, if you find that you have been scammed, you've got to report it right away. Now, herein lies another problem. Many of the people who are being scammed are senior citizens. And we know that even beyond the financial toll, and we've seen people in Essex County who individually have lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. They've wiped out their retirement accounts, their 401ks, and these scammers just keep telling, we need more, we need more. They'll call back for days at a time. And once that money goes in, very, very few of those cases are we able to get the money back. And it's just a terrible thing. The second part of it, beyond the money, is the psychological toll it takes on folks who have been scammed. And that's something you can't put a value on. And we've got folks that have been scammed. They're afraid to tell their family. We had a husband and wife. The wife was putting the money in, didn't tell the husband. They lost over $100,000. These folks have been married for over 50 years. It ended up in the dissolution of the marriage because it was such a terrible thing that happened. These are the cases. These are the real cases. If you get a call, there's no government official ever is going to ask you to go to a Bitcoin machine. Never. It will never happen. We have been working with our banks, and I'm going to leave the bank piece to our experts, but the training that the bank folks have had, and I'll let them speak to this, has been very, very helpful to us. We've had cases where people have gone into these stores, and if you read the Globe piece last week, there was a reporter that was following up on the story. He was at a little store in Merrimack, Mass, and he saw a woman putting money in. The clerk of the store and the reporter himself went over to this woman and said, ma'am, don't do this. It's a scam. And she said, no, I know what I'm doing. Phone scammer in their ear, which is what they do. And they'll say, don't pay attention to those people. Remember, this is a federal investigation. You can't tell anybody. And this is what they use to try to put these things forward. The other piece that they may ask you is to buy gift cards. That's another big piece of the scam. Once you give the gift card, all they want is the number off of it. And within minutes, the card is worthless and that money's been sent out someplace else. We have an investigator in my office, excuse me, that he pretty much just works on these scams. And he's uncovered from Essex County, Massachusetts, all the way to California and all the way overseas in a number of countries. And this is a bad one. These gift cards. I'm going to tell you about a story where a woman that was taken for both of these. The other piece that I want you to be careful about is what we call spoofed phone numbers. So we had a case in Essex County where a woman got a call and it came up FBI Atlanta. So she's on the phone. The person claimed to be an FBI agent. And so she tried to do a smart thing. While she's talking to them, she goes online, Googles, what is the phone number for the FBI office in Atlanta? Sure enough, there it is. It pops up. That's the number. It's what we call a spoofed number. If for those of you like me that get, thank you very much, Lisa, that get 5 or 6 of these calls a day, different things, you may see it'll say Gloucester, it'll say Hamilton. They're probably calling from a foreign country. They're spoofed numbers, so don't let that fool you. We've had cases, I'm going to give you a couple examples, and I'll turn it over to the sheriff. Mostly older folks, mostly senior citizens. We have the virus alert that comes up on your phone to call a certain number, and they will draw you in. They'll ask you what your social security number is. They'll ask you for your date of birth. And what they'll say is, we want to make sure that we're talking to somebody. So they almost turn it back on you. Like, we need to make sure we can trust you because we're investigating this child pornography. We're investigating the bad employee at the bank. So to show good faith, you need to tell us your phone number and your social security number. So many people, once you give that up, it's open season. So we had a woman in Middleton that got a phone call, said her PayPal account got hacked. Anybody have PayPal here? Huge portal, huge opening for scams. They said that there was $119,000 that were used on PayPal. She was a suspect in the scam, but they would settle for $10,000. They sent it to a Bitcoin machine. She fed $10,000 in. This is one of the good cases we did. Once she put the money in, a family member found out almost immediately. Middleton police were actually able to get to the machine, and we've done this a couple of times. We wrap it up in evidence tape, say, don't go near it. This is a crime scene. And we have the owner of the machine come and take the money out. We've done that to success only a handful of times, but about 6 weeks ago, we were able to get a total of about $30,000 back the 4 people because we literally got to the machine before the money was empty. Oftentimes they'll have either Wells Fargo or Loomis or one of these companies come and they empty the machine and they want to do it quickly because the scammer's got to move quick because once you've got physical possession of that money, it's gone. We had a guy in his 70s from Salem pop up on his computer, said there was a virus alert, needed $450, one of these antivirus like a Norton you may have seen pop up. He sent the first 200, ended up getting scammed for $20,000. Got sent to a Bitcoin machine in Linfield. These cases are replete, but I want to tell you about a story that really hit home for us. We had a woman from Salem, and this is I filed this under, people say it can't happen to me. This woman who I happen to know personally, law school graduate, 30-year employee of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, gets the pop-up on her computer. She calls the number. She's very suspicious. She calls the number, has the guy talking to her. He's so persuasive. He sends her to a local bank in Salem, and he's coaching her through. And as she's going into the bank, he said, now look, this is a federal investigation, the whole bit. He said, the teller is going to ask you why you want $13,000 in cash. Tell them you're buying a new car, you're getting a deal, so you're paying cash for it. And exactly as she was instructed, she did it. And here's the worst part, and she was very emotional telling us this. She went to a gas station on Canal Street in Salem. She fed $13,000 in $100 bills, one after the other. And when we interviewed her, and she later did a public service announcement for it, it's actually online on YouTube. She talked about it. She said with every $100 bill that she fed into this machine, a little voice in the back of it said, this just doesn't seem right. This doesn't seem right. Once she fed the money in, it's the guy on the phone, the scammer said, now you've got to go up to Target in Salem. There's a piece of this where we need gift cards as well, because that's been part of the scam. He ended up spending hundreds of dollars on gift cards. She went home. She was so troubled about it. She said to her partner at home, she said, I think it's legit, but maybe not. And the partner said, you're crazy. They immediately called the Salem police. By the time they got up to the machine, the money was gone. And this woman, she spoke at our Council on Aging in Salem at a forum just like this. And we did a public service announcement. It's online just to get people enlightened about it. Let me finish with this. Massachusetts has seen an alarming rise in scams. We have very, very few regulations, and this is something that I've been pushing for with our legislature. I'm going to reach out to Rep. Tar and Senator Tar. I know that they'll be on board with us. As somebody said the other day, these are local crimes with an international reach. You've got people that are sitting in countries as far as you can imagine away, just dialing and dialing and dialing. Very little money is recovered. About 98% of what I described to you with these Bitcoins are scams. Here's the numbers in terms of losses. This is Massachusetts. In 2021, we lost 28 million. In 2022, we lost 75 million. 2023, 91 million. The last year that we have numbers for is 2024. We're still aggregating 25, $201 million in Massachusetts. And I would caution you as you think about that number, that's underreported because so many people that are scammed say, I'm embarrassed, I'm ashamed. They don't want to tell their family members. They don't want to report it to the police. I'm going to leave it to Sheriff Copser next. Just keep this in the back of your mind. The person who says, I would never fall for that, think about that and take a pause when you start to see some of these things. So,
Great.
yep. Do you want to wait for a question? Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah,
got
go
a
ahead.
statistic on my phone or somewhere, and it said 25% of the American population was in a scam. So if there's 400 million, I'm estimating that's where we are. That's 25% of that is $100 million out there.
Yeah, incredible. The numbers and I've given you the monetary losses and these are low. And this is just Massachusetts. Yeah.
Thank you.
That happened to me with the pornography, and
Yeah.
all I did was open an app about flowers. It was a catalog for flowers and gardening, and it wasn't, yeah,
Yep. Yep.
and it popped up right on that, so
Yeah.
it wasn't even anything suspicious.
And by saying child pornography, immediately, or all of us here are horrified.
Yeah.
And that's why they do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, we'll, I think, do some questions and answers at the end of all the presentations. Right now, can we give it up for, and, the next expert panelist we have for you today is our Essex County, Sheriff, Kevin Coppinger, and he certainly has a ton of information about this too. So welcome, Sheriff. Come on.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Paul gave a brief biography of our similar careers. And like you said, I was a police officer in 32 years. I came up through the ranks. The last 7.5 years, I was a police chief. And then I got the crazy idea to run for sheriff. That was 9.5 years ago, and I'm still here. So I also like to say I run the largest bed and breakfast in Essex County, 3 square meals a day in an orange jumpsuit. But I will promise you here, working with Paul's office, if we get any of these scammers and we can get them convicted, I'll hold a room for them. I'll leave the light on, just like Motel 6 in Middleton. We'll give them a place to stay. I have some examples for you, and a lot of times these scammers use the sheriff's department to call people to scare the daylights out of you. But let me just give you a couple of quick tips if I could. And I like to say when we do these presentations, there's 2 words we should all try to remember. It's common sense. All right, just think about what's going on. And if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. But keep in mind, these scammers are targeting your emotions. They're trying to find your vulnerability. I think Paul used that word too. And then they're gonna build on that. So you start to go into a panic mode, like the statement, and then you're gonna do stuff that you would normally do. I would suggest to you, time is your ally. So think about what you're doing. And if somebody's giving you the full court press, a lot of pressure to make a decision or run down to that Bitcoin machine or run down to the bank, time out. Stop, say, listen, give me your number. I'll call you right back. And then do like Paul suggested, Google the actual phone number if it's for whatever. The IRS. The IRS is a big one. You'll get a call from the IRS. You owe us money. There'll be a warrant issued, if you don't make a payment or something like that. Before I forget it, I just want to introduce one individual. You probably know him. He's down here a lot, but Assistant Superintendent Mo Pratt down the back. He's from our office. Mo's one of our best experts. So I can sit up here today and tell you all the good stuff, but Mo's the brains behind the thing here. But we've got some pamphlets Mo put out to us for us here, and they're up here afterwards if you want to pick one up. But one of the other things I would just caution you about is like a preventive measure. Now, in this day and age of technology, we're all on Facebook and whatever else social media venue that you like to do. And a lot of us want to sing the praises of our family. Say, oh yeah, I've got a son, a daughter, a grandson, a granddaughter, and they just graduated high school, or maybe it was a middle school or some other event, or they're a sport, and they're an athlete in some sport. They just won the championship or a dance contest. We all like to put it out there. The scammers are watching this. They want to know your backgrounds. They want to get as much information as they can about you, including your interests. Let's say you like to go to an arts festival. They're going to remember that, and they're going to know that before they call you. So you're already a target. They're not, they do just you get blind calls like that, but there are also individuals who are doing the research to call you. And a great example is, and you probably know this one, is the grandparent scam. Folks get these calls, in a panic, and it might be from an individual, say, Nana, Grandma, whatever you're called. Oh, I'm in trouble. I'm just got arrested by the local police. They said if I get such and such a dollar amount, $1,000, let's just use that number. You can send that, right away. They'll let me out of jail. And they'll say, and you'll be like, this doesn't sound like his voice. Oh, Grandma, maybe you're having an odd day today, Grandma. Maybe you're not thinking too much. Meanwhile, your blood pressure's going up. You're panicking. And you go, no, maybe it is, my grandson. What do I do? And then they're going to give you the information. This is what we need you to do, whether it's gift cards or the crypto machine or some other way to send them money, just to get them out of the way. And you're thinking you're bailing your grandchild out of jail or even preventing the arrest. If that happens, I suggest you find out where they are. Again, time out. Let me call you right back. Let me find out what's going on and call the local police. They'll tell you if your grandchild is in there. A lot of the stuff that we have, and again in these brochures, I'm just going back to let's call it the romance scam. Now, let's be honest, as we all get older, we lose our spouses. So we have a lot of single seniors living in there. And sometimes it gets lonely. That's part of life as we grow. So there are individuals out there who, again, will target your emotions. So you may have a new suitor, we'll call him, or boyfriend or girlfriend who's, taking you out to dinner or taking you out here or there and trying to get friendly and just build up a relationship. And maybe it's going good and you're all thrilled. You're back out in the community. You're out going to local events. And then, maybe 3, 4, 5 months into the relationship, you get a phone call from that individual. Oh my God, I need help. Again, one of my children's got a fiscal mess, he's being sued or that and the other thing. Can I borrow $10,000? Can I borrow $20,000? People do it. They'll write the check and then it's gone. And it's just, again, the targeting your emotions. How can they get you into that little niche where they can control it? And the pressure is huge. They will just, no, you need to do it right now. Don't, I can't hang up. You need to do it right now. Let's get this done. I'll go with you to the bank. Let's go with you to the bank. You give that individual the 10 grand, you never see him again. Fine. And it's very difficult. I know, speaking for both the law enforcement personnel on both my sides here, it's going to be very difficult for them to target them because obviously it's probably a fictitious name, but it's somebody, again, who's targeting your emotions, going on Facebook, learning about your family, learning about your routines, learning about your likes. So they have you and they're going to do that. So let me talk about a jury duty notice. This is one of the more popular ones where the sheriff's department gets involved. We get the calls all the time from citizens across the county. I just got a call from the sheriff's department. And apparently I missed jury duty and you have a warrant for my arrest. What do I do about it? And the scammers will tell you, oh yeah, yep. Go down to the bank, or go down to the crypto machine. Gift cards, as Paul mentioned, very, very popular, and send them out. We had one case here, $12,000. They're worried about a jury duty notice.
Did you get them?
Nope, unfortunately. And it's, I think Paul said it too. No law enforcement agency is going to call you and ask for money. If you ever got a call about a warrant for your arrest, again, I said, hang up and call the agency, whoever they're from. But no law enforcement agency is going to call you up and say, hey, listen, send us, $5,000. We'll make the warrant go away. It does not happen. So please keep that in mind.
My
Same-
husband missed one. He got a warrant. We called the courthouse. I drove him in there. All they said was show up for any court jury duty. That's it.
Yeah.
No money.
Yeah.
And they apologized because of how he was served and everything.
Yeah. And then when you get these phone calls, there's others, they may not ask you for money, but they're trying to confirm your identity. So you get a call, and some of the ones they use the sheriff's office as a ruse. They'll say, we have a warrant for your arrest. We want to make sure it's you. So Tony, what's your date of birth? Let me just confirm this. And Tony will say, blah, blah, blah. What's your social security number, Tony? Tony will say, blah, blah, blah. You're done. They've got your social security number. They got your date of birth. Now they're going after your bank accounts. And as extraordinary as it says, they could go after your house. They could go out and get a new loan against your house, a home improvement loan, or a second, third mortgage with all that information, with some other, technicalities that they use. And you may have a lien on your house for hundreds of thousands of dollars. You might not even know it because you made that simple mistake. As I said a few minutes ago, common sense. If it doesn't sound right, stop. And if there is a warrant, like I said, follow up with the local police. No cop's going to go banging on your door after a phone call. It's not going to happen. But they just want to pressure you to do that. But one of the other ones we have is, the most recent ones, home repair scams. These are big. There'll be a contractor will show up at your house. Say, I've been in the neighborhood doing hot top. This was a big one when I was with the Lynn Police Department, especially this, early starts in spring, goes through the warmer months. Geez, I was just repaving some of your neighbors' driveways. I've got some extra stock in the truck. I can come by. I'll pave your driveway. And, that's a great idea. Yep. Okay. Here, I'll write you a check. No, I can't take a check. Can you get me cash? They'll ask you to go to the bank and you come back with the cash. You'll give them X amount of money and then they'll pave it. And a lot of times all they're putting on is a very thin coat of sealant. Well, the first rainstorm, that's going down into the sewer. Your driveway's going to look like it was 2 weeks ago. And then you're out of X amount of dollars you just gave the guy. Contractors, if they haven't any repairs to your homes, make sure they're legit. You have the Better Business Bureau as an option to verify their credibility. There's other websites that are legit that you can do that. or better yet, just ask, ask for references. Who have you worked for? Have you talked to this contractor? Make some phone calls there. There's so many options out there. You gotta keep just digging and digging and digging. Tech support, Paul mentioned that, briefly too. If you're on the computer, and a lot of us are, when you get those little messages, your computer has been infected with XYZ. And if, a lot of people, what I do with those is I just shut my computer up, boot it, and 99% of the time it's gone. But you see that big message and it's got the flashing lights and everything else, and then, call this number or link this, use this link here. Next thing you know, you're putting in your credit card for repairs. Once they get the credit card, I need to tell you, I don't need to tell you, now you're in really big trouble because your credit card's gonna get through the roof. But there's a lot of other ones there. I'm just trying to give you just an overview, but these are here, Mo's here, and again, I know a lot of you know Mo, and Mo does the circuit all around the county. He can certainly come back on other tips too for the seniors. I know he's been here before, but thank you for being here, Tony. So thank you and Sean for putting this together. And most of all, thank you all for coming here, and please share the information with everybody else, because there are so many people that don't understand and they're so susceptible to the pressure on these folks that call up. And we all want to be liked and we all want to be part of something, but sometimes, like I said before, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. So thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, more eye-opening stuff. Our next speaker, I'm delighted to say, is right from here from Gloucester, is our acting Chief Williamson. And he's going to tell you about what your local resources right here in Gloucester can help you with, the kind of stuff that they find, and take it away, Chief.
Yes, certainly, to avoid any overlap from what the DA and the sheriff has said. In Gloucester, the financial crimes, the financial scams are definitely on the rise. We do have one detective who's very overloaded with investigating these. I just get a show of hands. Has anybody gotten a suspicious text message? Well, not that long ago, saying my driver's license was going to be suspended because I had some unpaid tolls.
Yes.
Yeah. And how about another show of hands? Has anybody gotten any phone calls asking for some type of personal information?
Yeah.
I'll give you a perfect example. A couple of months ago, I helped my girlfriend file her taxes. She filed her taxes. We go through a CPA. And one day she gets a phone call from the IRS saying the police are going to come to her house, come to my house to arrest her. She with her taxes. So she calls me all up, emotional and very upset, saying, "Hey, what you do with the taxes? They're coming to arrest me." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" It's a perfect example of something like that. From the police department's perspective, as far as what we can do to help, certainly have these educational lectures, seminars, sessions. We're looking to have more of these that educate the community a little bit more, as well as social media posts, fraud alerts on what's going on, what the new trends are, and certainly partnering with the DA's office, the sheriffs, and the local banks to get the information out there. I did have a flyer I did up on some of the scams that are going on, the new trends. The sheriff and the DA have already touched upon that. And I also passed out, if you got it, example of several cases the department has really investigated recently. One not that long ago, the IT computer scam. Older lady on her computer was taken over. Shuts down. Next thing you know, she's wiring $24,000 under her account. The same, you go to the bank, you speak to the teller, they walk you through everything, what you say, whatnot. And again, looks like she's going to be up $24,000. Another thing that's going on is even when you write a check to go pay your mortgage, go pay your credit card, you write the check out and drop it in the mailbox. Somehow, the mail's getting intercepted, checks are being washed, and they're changing the payee information. Well, that's a growing trend. Big government calls, again, IRS would be a perfect example as far as that. And recently, back in March, we had, again, old lady gets a call about child porn, and they were gonna, prosecute her for that, and they asked her to go purchase $51,000 worth of gold bars.
She did it.
Uh, She was in the process, it was stopped. She did get the money back on that case, but, again, it's just a growing trend. I think the most important thing, we can do to really, stop that is, just educating everybody. You get these calls, you get these text messages, slow down, stop, think, talk to somebody you trust. And, if it sounds good to be true, it probably is. Again, even if the money can't be recovered, the fact that you're reporting it, you could help somebody else from becoming a victim. That's very important. We always, as soon as we find out something, we can put it out there. You may be a victim, but if we can stop other people from becoming victims, that's very helpful. And I'm fine if the department gets 10 phone calls. Hey, I think I might have been scammed. And we'll look into we'll tell you if it's, you've been scammed, if it's a crime or not. As long as, we'll take 10 calls as long as we stop somebody from losing their life savings. That's the one call we don't want to get. But, again, very available, very accessible. If you have any questions, certainly feel free to reach out. But again, I don't want to overlap on what already has been said, but turn it over to Amy. She's been around for a while, probably one of the best experts on that.
Absolutely.
I agree. Thank you, Chief. Hold on that and say that we all have a role to play too, right? I had a friend who disclosed to me that she had been scammed. And my internal reaction when she showed me what had happened to her, internally, I went, oh my God, how could you have fallen for that? That was so easy, obvious. Internally, I knew enough to keep that internal because I knew that what I needed to talk her into doing and convince her that what she needed to do was go down to the police station. Now, if I had said, oh my God, that was so obvious, how could you have fallen for that? Would she be more or less likely to go to the police? That's where she might be embarrassed and think, oh, or if my good friend Elise has just embarrassed me by saying how much it was obvious, she might be less likely to go. So I think if you hear that, if somebody tells you, as outrageous as it might be, and as you might think that yourself, how could you have fallen for that? If you could try to keep that, your inner voice, and have your outer voice be a little bit more supportive and say, well, they're very sophisticated. I can see how that might have happened to you. Let's go get this to the police department as soon as possible. That's going to be the better course of action. So that's all I'm going to say about that, because we do need to talk about Amy Randazza from the Cape Ann Savings Bank, who has great expertise in what is being done at the bank end to spot and prevent and hopefully or sometimes mitigate scams that are happening. So Amy, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I'm honored to be included in this panel. I have spoken here to a few of you. I see a lot of familiar faces a couple times, but all of this information, the more you hear it, the repetitiveness is to your benefit. There are some handouts I have up here from the Federal Trade Commission, which go over the different types of scams, what to do if you've been a victim of scam, how to identify if it's really a scam or not, some identity theft information, just a few little tips and tricks to help you out. But in the past, I've given you the numbers, I've given you the horror stories. My role today is to pretty much tell you what do the banks do, and I'm not speaking specifically for Cape Ann Savings Bank. I would like to think that I'm speaking for all financial institutions. We all play a role in first and foremost, protecting you and your money is what is important to us. What we do is we monitor your accounts on a regular basis. We have software that helps us. We look for unusual activity. We'll call you on stuff that seems unusual. We try to detect suspicious transfers or withdrawals. Do we catch them all? No. Do we try to? Yes. We help to identify any potential elder financial exploitation, educate our customers as well as our employees on red flags and things to look for. We assist law enforcement with investigations. Sometimes we're contacting the law enforcement and initiating an investigation. And we do whatever we can to attempt to recover any stolen funds when fraud is reported to us. The time is of the essence. The quicker anything gets reported to us, the better your chances. What we can do is we can contact you about your transactions. We can delay transactions that you're trying to do to try to get more information and try to talk you into thinking things through. The biggest thing that I would love to stress is be honest. Be honest with your banks. We ask a lot of questions. We're trained to ask a lot of questions. The more questions we ask, that's the more suspicious we think the transaction is. And we're just trying to get you to stop and think about it as well. At the end of the day, it's your money. There are limits to our fraud protection. Many scams involve authorized transactions. The customers come in and they're authorizing that money to be sent. When a wire transfer is sent, when cash is withdrawn from the bank, when you are purchasing cryptocurrency, purchasing gift cards, when the money is gone, it's gone. Wires are pretty instant these days. When we press the button and we authorize it, it goes out through to another bank, through the Federal Reserve, and getting those funds back is very, very difficult. Is it impossible? No. But the quicker you can tell us that you think something is wrong or we didn't catch it to stop it to begin with, the better off you are. But you have to be truthful. If someone is coaching you on what to say to your bank, how to get the money out of your bank, telling them that you're purchasing a car or you're having home repairs, there's a reason they're doing that. Nobody's coaching you on what to say if they're not trying to scam you out of your money. And they're good at it. And on the other end, some of the people being scammed have found their acting careers. They're very good at convincing us that what they're doing is legitimate and they really want to do it. So it makes our job more difficult. Many scams, if a customer voluntarily sends money, I've already said this, the funds are difficult to come back. What you can do, if you think you're being scammed, call your bank immediately. The sooner the fraud is reported, the better the chance of stopping it. Preserve evidence. Save anything you have. If you have text messages, emails, screenshots, transaction receipts, phone numbers, that helps us. That gives us the information that you've been given, and it most certainly helps law enforcement. File reports with the local police, with the Federal Trade Commission, and the FBI. The FBI uses the Internet Crime Compliance Center, which is ic3.gov. The FTC has a wealth of information on their website. It will talk about different scams. It will give you statistics, but it also has a reporting mechanism with report fraud to ftc.gov. And the biggest thing you need to do is stop all contact with that person that is trying to scam you. They are persistent. They don't have full-time jobs. You are their full-time job. They're going to take the time to create urgency. They're going to try to friend you, to convince you that whatever their scam of choices of the day is real. They're pulling at your heartstrings. They're doing whatever they can. And they have the time. They just had a big payday on somebody else yesterday. So they've got all the time in the world. They're going to focus on you and they're going to be persistent. If you give them a dime, they're going to take a quarter. They're going to take $100 and then they're going to work their way up. Even when money cannot be immediately recovered, you're reporting to your bank, reporting to the law enforcement. It helps to identify criminal patterns and it disrupts fraud rings. It protects future victims. You may not get your money back, but you may help from losing theirs. I put together a little flyer up here on how to protect yourself. I say, follow the stop, verify, and protect rule. Simple, just stop, never act immediately. They pry on, they're hoping to create urgency and to get you to make a quick decision. Never act immediately when somebody pressures you. Verify, contact the organization directly using a trusted phone number. If they're telling you somebody from your bank is stealing from you, contact the bank. Contact the bank from a number on your statement, on the back of your debit card, on the bank's website, or go down to your bank. Speak to somebody in charge. Don't ask to speak to a manager, the branch manager, the president of the bank, somebody in the fraud department. We will take the time and talk to you. If there is literally somebody in the bank that's scamming you, we'll get to the bottom of it. Over time, if you've stayed with a specific financial institution, you make contacts. You know the people that you're talking to. If you're in a local bank, you know the faces to talk to. Go down and tell them what's going on. They're gonna help you. And the last step in the stop, verify, and protect rule is protect. Do not provide online banking passwords to anybody. Don't provide on one-time security codes, debit card pins, social security numbers, account information. Do not allow remote access to your computer or your phone. Those things, no legitimate institution, no bank, no law enforcement, no government agency is going to ask that of you. And then there's 5 simple rules. Number 1, slow down. Scammers want urgency. Be skeptical. I've been at the bank for 37 years. I used to trust everybody. I trust nobody. I am skeptical of everything. Do I like being like that? No, but there's a reason I'm like that. Never move money on somebody else's instructions. A bank or government agency, law enforcement, they're never going to ask you to buy gift cards, convert money to cryptocurrency, or withdraw cash to protect your funds. Talk to somebody you trust. You all have family, friends, somebody before sending any money, a consultant or a trusted advisor. Talk to somebody. Sometimes just saying it out loud to somebody else triggers you to say, what am I thinking? Like, this can't be true. And using your account alerts. The banks all offer them. You can sign up for transaction alerts, for online banking notifications, debit card alerts, and talk to your bank about adding a trusted contact. You can add a trusted contact to your account profiles that doesn't have to be privy to your banking information. They don't have to be on your bank accounts. They don't have to be a signer, but they can be somebody that you've authorized the bank to call and say, hey, look, I think there's something going on. This so-and-so may be being scammed. Can you at least talk to them before we do this transaction? It can be as simple as that. We can help protect your money, but prevention starts with awareness. If something doesn't feel right, we've all said it, it probably isn't. And if it's too good to be true, it probably is. Contact your bank before sending any money or sharing personal information. Scammers succeed when people feel rushed, isolated, or embarrassed. Please remember, if something doesn't feel right, stop and call us. We would much rather help you verify legitimate transactions than help you try to recover money after a scam. If you've heard me speak before, I always say we're better together, and that's the truth. People like to hide the truth, not talk about it because they're embarrassed. We're better together. Talk about it. Whatever you've learned or you've experienced, pretty much the person beside you has probably experienced it as well. And the more we talk about it, the more people know about it, and the more we can stop it from happening. That's what I have, but
Excellent.
there's plenty of.
Nick, are we okay with opening it up for some
Sure.
question and answer? Questions for the panel, anybody? I know, Chris?
Amy, one time you had a meeting about a special ink pen you can use.
Yes, so, and actually,
Do they still work?
they
to prevent
They
washing?
do still work, so I didn't even think to bring any today. Gel pens, cannot be washed. The ink on a gel pen helps with check fraud. Check fraud is coming back. Check your bank statements, check your check images, because even if you wrote a $500 check I wrote a $500 check to Christine, it doesn't mean that $500 check that cleared, the check number might be right, the amount might be right, but now it's payable to Elise, and Elise is the one who cashed it. Report that, get that, make sure, because you want your money to go where you intended it to go. People are stealing mail, they're stealing checks, they're washing them, changing the payees. Sometimes they'll add an extra zero, sometimes they can change pretty much anything, or they can duplicate what your checks look like and send checks.
Any protection from the nursing homes? If I have money in the bank, can the nursing home go and get it because it's my mother's name and my name?
Yeah.
It depends on what you've signed and what you've authorized. There's not a yes or no answer to that.
Can't
I'm sorry.
withdraw it because the nursing home is my partner.
Why don't we talk?
No, no.
Why don't we talk after about you? I work with Amy. Why don't we talk after about your specific
Okay.
situation? Because to Amy's point, there's not a simple yes or no to that particular question.
How come the credit card companies can retrieve money, but the bank can't?
So it's not, the credit card companies are not necessarily retrieving money. They're not getting stolen funds back. There are consumer protection laws. And then the credit card companies have to give you back your money, and then the credit card companies,
They don't,
they're taking the loss.
oh, okay. So do they have different insurance than the bank?
Bank too.
The banks on your debit cards, there's insurances on that as well. Yep. That's the cost of us doing business, really, is the consumer protection laws are gonna protect the consumer. You don't have that same type of protection with a wire transfer or with an ACH, but you do with a debit card.
Question right there.
I consider myself a relatively sophisticated person, but a couple of years ago, I had exactly where they called back the number, I mean, the whole thing, FTC, et cetera, et cetera. And it wasn't until I got to actually Bank of America and the teller said, you do not want to do this. This is a scam. And that saved me X amount of money. So I've always been very, very grateful to that.
Great. Any other questions?
Well, I would just like to say follow up on what your friend, who was very experienced, I have a really good friend, is in security, deep into it, and he got scammed by the gift card thing. And, when we heard that, I mean, I heard it from his wife, but I have never talked to him about it because I know he would be extremely embarrassed. But I mean, if it can happen to your friend and my friend, I mean, it's insane.
Yeah, there's a couple of different ways that people are targeted. One is just this mass they send out. Chief Williams mentioned that RMV. I must have gotten 50 texts, no less than 50. But if you take a look at the emails, so we have it's RMVMA.gov is legit. If you looked on that one, if anybody looked, it was .com.
Yeah.
So it's not a government official, but I think I just read this morning, somebody was arrested, not in Massachusetts. He was going through obituaries and targeting elderly females who had just lost it. I just read that this morning. So, yeah.
And stuff like that, what to spot if you're looking for emails, it's particularly looking for cyber scams. We just had a nice presentation by the Sawyer Free Library just last month in June that just focused on that. We're going to keep those up at a pretty good pace because we know not everybody got that one. But when they come over, they just talk about ways to stay safe online, how to go and look and see, is it .gov or .com? Lots of little things that are big red flags that can happen online, especially in emails. Any other questions? Yeah.
So I was just gonna say, this happened last week and then I came in here and I saw this talk, so I said, okay, I'll sign up. But as soon as the person said, we have to start purchasing gift cards. I said, what are you crazy? You work for the government. I'm not buying new gift cards. And I hung up.
That's the right answer.
I said, "What are you saying?" And then I changed I canceled the credit card. I changed all my passwords. I called the bank and all that in 5 minutes. I mean, it was, yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's what we want.
Did you have a question back there?
And how do you catch these guys?
So depending on the type of scam, and Kevin mentioned like the romance one, we have people that reach out. So I'll give you a quick case scenario. We had a woman from Salem posted on Facebook that she liked a certain band. I think it was Journey from like the 1980s, maybe. A guy saw it, reaches through Facebook and says, hey, I was the guitarist in Journey. They start this back and forth. She falls hook, line, and sinker, sends him. We were able to trace back his Facebook and the IP address on his email. We're able to do it that way. That's not always the case, though. Sometimes it's pure luck. Sometimes, and I think everybody's mentioned that making sure report it. We were able to connect. Jim Carney in our office, who's our investigator, he just connected the next fraud was seeing. Guy from Salem is trying to buy a car. He goes online, finds this website of a car dealership in North Carolina. You can actually see the dealership, the salespeople, everything. He calls them. The whole thing was a scam. It was a picture from a different dealership from Florida. They made this whole elaborate thing. The point is that because 8 people had been scammed and they all reported it, we're able to link all of them. The guys in Florida, we're going to be able to charge them. So sometimes we get lucky.
Nice.
Yeah.
I got a,
Yeah, sorry.
I got a email from CVS and I'd been having knee problems and this was for medical equipment, a brace for the knee. So I answered that call. Well, actually, I clicked on that on the email, but then I got a phone call from CVS. That CVS had their phone number. It was a Gloucester phone number. I'm used to it. I know it was their phone number. It wasn't them. It was a scammer. But it took me a long time to figure it out that it was a scammer. I actually gave them my, my Medicare number. And then they threatened me that they were going to cancel my Medicare. And I said, oh, you gotta be kidding me. Goodbye. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. I called Medicare, canceled my card, got a new one. I called CVS, told them they have a scammer on their phone. But they're so good.
Yeah.
I mean, they were ridiculously good, but one little giveaway that I didn't notice until afterwards, there was noise in the background.
Yeah.
If it was CVS, there shouldn't have been that kind of noise in the background. So, I mean, I've had so many scam calls that I hang up all the time, but that one, they would.
We're talking to someone in the Philippines.
Yes.
Right.
Well, even call
Verizon
customer
used to
service. I'm talking to
employ
somebody in Egypt.
people from the Philippines and we would be calling information. And if you didn't know about that, you would be thinking you're talking to someone in the States.
Customer service is the same. They're not here.
Yeah,
I was
and
talking to
they're
a guy from Egypt.
From another country, totally, for Verizon.
Yeah.
We have a question.
It's more of a. I'm Marjorie Grace, the Ward 3 City Councilor. You talked earlier about Facebook and how people can zero in on your post on Facebook about your family. And maybe there's not time at this meeting, but it's something worth thinking about having to teach people how to change their settings. So that's just for friends and family and not public settings. And how to safeguard against people being able to access that. And also people like, when you get these posts that say, do you remember your childhood phone number?
Oh, yeah.
So many people use those numbers as their passwords, or what was your favorite pet when you were a child, that sort of thing. So I know there's probably not time today to go over that, but it's something to worth, if it's some sort of
We
education.
put that together. Yeah, we can put that together. I'll talk to the library and see if that kind of information is included in the cybersecurity stuff that they already do for us. And ask them if they can just carve that out and more fully plumb those depths of just social media safety, because that could be its whole presentation
A quick story
on its
about
own.
a family member of mine who's a professional musician and a teacher. And, some scammer used AI and went into her professional page, took her face and put it on lewd pictures, sent her stuff trying to elicit money from her. She was like smart enough, it's, this is a scam. We're gonna let all your parents, kids' parents know and stuff. We did report it to the chief and to the Rockport police, but teaching people how to block those numbers and block those emails is like really important to try to stop the continued spread. So that's all. Thanks.
I actually have a question. If I could ask a question, and it's not about a criminal scam, but it's criminal scam adjacent. So a loved one of mine, was starting to experience some dementia symptoms and the family was not yet wasn't seeing it. We discovered, once we did kind of notice some of the dementia signs, we went through some of her paperwork and started to look through the checking account and noticed that she had sent like over $200,000 to charities that are completely legal charities. These were absolutely, to be clear, they were 100% charities. Now, I don't want to say legit charities. They, in my opinion, were not legit at all, but they're legal. So no crime, I don't believe any crime was committed. She sent the money off, and those were charities I knew to look them up. There are places that rate charities. There's GuideStar, there's Charity Navigator, and you can go and you can see how much money each charity is spending on administrative overhead versus what is actually going to programs. So the charities, and once you give to one of the ones that's spending 90% of their money on administrative overhead, they really just exist to make more money. Maybe 10% actually does a few things. Once you give to one of them, boy, you get the avalanche of all of those mail pieces, direct mail pieces. And all of them, I looked them all up and they were all just that pattern of about, 80, 90% of the money of every dollar that they get going to administrative overhead, which means just doing more things to raise more money and pay their executives that are doing all this stuff. And very little money was actually going towards, the puppies and the kitties that they were telling her they were protecting. So I just didn't know. In that instance, there wasn't anything that we could do. We reached out to a few of the charities and we said, hey, she had dementia. Like, do you ever send the money back? They laughed pretty much and said, no, we're not sending the money back. But is there ever with anything like that with a charity they're not illegal, but they can really bilk somebody out of a couple $100,000. Is there ever anything that kind of can be done about that?
We actually, on the way up here, Mike Keith Feldman, Scott, and I had a very similar conversation, literally on the way up here about that. The short answer is there's probably not a lot you can do. For us to bring a criminal charge, we have to show beyond a reasonable doubt that the people knew that the person had dementia, that they would not authorize me taking it. It's really, really difficult. There would be a very high burden for us to show that any one of these, one of the ones we were talking about was that Cars for Kids, the incessant ads all the time. Studies have shown a lot of that money isn't going where it's supposed to be, but they are a legitimate legal charity. I'll tell you what, we had a case that's even a much, much closer call. We had a woman from Linfield, business owner, was taken for over $1 million by somebody that our victim here had reached out to for some life coaching, give her like good karma. And she ended up taking this woman over the course of 2 years on vacation with her. And at the end of it, the family, when they realized it, said, this is a scam. We were not able to go forward on that because this woman did not have dementia, but she was completely enamored by this other woman. Over 7 figures, over $1 million over the course of 2 years. We could not sustain and show that it was criminal intent, even though we certainly suspect that it was. But to be able to convince a jury, very, very difficult. And if it's legit charities. Now, when we can act, and we've actually, in Essex County, we've charged, you may have seen these people that are in front of stores claiming to be collecting money for veterans. You'll see people in old veterans uniforms. So we actually, and a guy from Lynn, we ended up charging him. We got his probation violated. He went to jail. He was claiming that it was for veterans. He was keeping it. He was actually hiring folks who were homeless, giving him a military jacket and standing out in front of stores. We're able to charge him, convict him, and get sentenced. That's an easier one. That's a legit one that we can do.
So I guess as a follow-up to that idea of like the charities that are legal, but they're probably not a good place for your philanthropic and your giving heart to kind of go. Would that be, if we did a whole presentation on that, on how to look up charities, how to find out where charities are spending their money? Does anyone here in this room, might that be of interest if we put something like that together? Yeah, we could offer that. I think it couldn't hurt, so. Yeah.
One more thing.
Elizabeth, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
one second.
I got a mailing, from best friends, or I actually found it at the post office and somebody else had left the envelope, so I started doing that. I only give about $10-15 a year, but they started sending stuff like once a month.
Yeah.
But I just throw it in the garbage, but I don't go
They'll
up.
keep trying.
I just do a thing for them. I know that they have 3,000 acres. I know they moved from one place down south to up north, like.
Yeah, that's,
But they're pretty legitimate. I went to visit once when I was going to Salt Lake City and they were nearby.
right,
And they have everything they say they do, but you don't know the kind of money that's going through these people.
right. So we could talk about that more fully if we do run a presentation like that, Chris. you're-
One time you had a meeting which was very good about deeds to your house.
Yes.
And me and my
That
friend
again.
went to Salem and signed a piece of paper. I would advise anybody that has a house to go to Salem to the deeds, sign a piece of paper that if somebody's trying to do something to your house, they'll notify you.
Okay.
Yes, that was very,
Yeah, we did that when Bruce Tarr was here.
yeah, I don't know
Yeah,
who did
the
it, but that was
register of
very
deeds, I think. Yeah.
knowledgeable.
Yeah, we'll put that together. I'll
That
get
was
that
very
together
good. So
again.
me and
so we
my
can
friend
get some
went
more
and did it.
people.
We can get Eileen.
So-
And then there's Homestead Acts too.
Right.
You
Yes.
need to know about
Yeah,
that.
we'll repeat all that because it can't be repeated often enough. So, yeah.
One other thing I just wanted to say is, recently, there was something with Medicare that we all got new Medicare cards because they said there'd been Medicare fraud. And that was legitimately canceled out all your old Medicare cards. I don't know if other people got that, but it
I got a call.
definitely was legitimate.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
a few years ago.
Sometimes there is legitimate stuff that goes out. Did you have a comment, sir?
Yeah, right, got scammed from my, bunch of money that I gave out, and, I was wondering, I'm gonna have to give that back in taxes this year. Is there any way I can prove that, so I don't have to pay the taxes on that?
As a write-off?
As a write-off, yeah, and, they did the same thing, they called up and said they were doing criminal activity under my ID, and, now they scammed me right up, and I hung up on them. And the Gloucester police called back, well, look, they didn't even have the right number on it. Said to call them back, so I did. I went through the whole thing and they scammed me for $32,000. I went to Walmart and sent the money through there and different things like that. And I just wanted to know that the tax part of it, is there any way I can prove that? I don't know how that works.
No, I don't think so. Not that I know if there's state, that wouldn't be allowable. Unfortunately.
If I could just add one thing, somebody over here said it, and if you take one thought out of here today, and I know it's a little harsh, but somebody over here said, I used to think everybody was a nice person. Be skeptical. That was a great line. I'm gonna steal it. We can tell you, and you've heard it here, even the stories coming from you folks. There are people out there looking to scam you, and for every dime you have, be skeptical, but don't think they're all nice, but they're after you.
Yeah.
One more tip that I have too, number one, never be afraid to hang up the phone on somebody. I tell my parents all the time, don't even answer the phone. But if you do answer the phone, be careful of what you're saying. Because a lot of times you're giving them the information to use on you. Somebody might call like a grandparent scam and say, hey, grandma, it's me. And they like, Johnny, is that you? Well, now you just told them your grandson's name. Or, I'm calling from your bank. Oh, you're from Cape Ann Savings Bank? Well, now they know where you bank. So don't give them any unnecessary information, even if you think it's legit. You don't have to tell them who they are or tell them who your grandchildren are. They're working you to get information. And even if they don't use that information right then, they've got something else to call you back on. And they're just putting a profile together. They're getting more and more information from you to use against you. So just be careful. use common sense.
Yeah.
Never say
Well, I think
yes.
we've had some great comments. Does anyone have any questions left? Did you have a question or a comment? We could do one more either way.
Thank you. I have a comment, which
Yeah.
I think would be very worthwhile. Please pardon me for saying this, but when I receive one of those bad calls, I do the exact opposite, what is recommended. I've never hung up on someone, I never will. Here's why. In this world we live in, highly likely that the caller knows our exact name and our exact address. So if we hang up on them, I think of what they're going through, receiving countless hangups throughout the day. And who's to say that they won't mail us something both bad in the mail? So when I identify them as being a unreal call or not genuine, I start in on them. I says, I am so sorry. I really apologize. The people you're calling had to step out in a hurry, and I just came here temporarily. I hope you forgive me. I am just the babysitter. That's what I say. And if I did my job correctly, they will apologize to me. And it has happened. It says, I'm sorry to bother you. And we part ways amicably. The last thing I want is somebody mad at me.
They're gonna call back
Okay.
anyway. Phil called
So
back.
I think I want to wrap it up, and I can't, if we could please give it up for our great panel. And bring us on home. Thank you all for being here today.
Yeah, I mean, I can't thank, this panel was, 5-star. They were really, really good. This was beyond any expectation I had from you guys. This was fantastic. There's a lot of great information up here. Please take the time to come up and get this information and have it at home. Remember, your best thing to be armed with is the information and to keep yourself, keep it current in your head. Refer to it often so that you are ready and able to be armed to take care of the situation when it arises. And this was a great showing of people, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good.